These are the 4 things that we should be focused on a daily basis. State is power and presence. So it's a point system because I feel like when you gamify things, like I always like want to win stuff. I'm always like challenging myself and like trying to up yesterday. But if you're not really like keeping score of yesterday, then how can you be better than yesterday, right? Because you hear that all the time, like, just be better than yesterday. You're like, okay, but what does that mean? Like, I don't really have a measure for how I did yesterday. But this kind of gives you that point system where you can keep track. You can actually see, like, am I moving forward? Am I making progress? Am I doing all the things that I need to do? And we're always going to have area that we need to grow, right? So the first one is state. This is reading your LadyBoss personal power statement, right? You guys have this in the trainer. You can fill it out, make it your own. I like to revisit this, once a month and see how things have changed. Because you guys know as you go through this journey, stuff changes. Goals change. Focus changes. You start to feel better about yourself. You're like, okay, got that one. Now I need to change my power statement. Because I firmly believe when you're reading this over yourself, you've heard the word affirmation a lot this weekend, right? Affirmations, affirmations, affirmations. The power of affirmation, of knowing like who you really are, what your goal is, what you're after, helps sort out all that negative self-talk that's usually there. And you ladies know, the more you let yourself sit and like simmer on like a negative thought, and then you're like, you get into this whole thought tunnel, and then you're like, how did I even get here, like talking this bad to myself? And this is to help override that. This is to help override all of those negative thoughts. Because the more that you start speaking life into yourself instead of death into yourself on a daily basis, you're going to start to believe in yourself more. You're going to start saying like, oh, I can actually do this. And then it's hard to let the negative ones in because when they get there, when they arrive, you're like, this isn't what I should be saying to myself. Like, that's not my thought. Like literally, they're as different as peanut butter and jelly. And then you notice when the bad stuff starts getting in there and you're like, okay, that's not my thought, get that out of here. And we're gonna do a little more on that later. So every day you should be reading your personal power statement to yourself, okay? This is you can be doing it in the morning, tape it up on your mirror. How many of you have like your affirmations on your mirror, on your phone, or like on your lock screen? It's a really good idea to fill this out in the trainer and then save it as your lock screen on your phone. Every time you see it, you're just being reminded because it's hard too as we go throughout our day and stuff starts happening, life starts happening. We're like, oh, like now I suck again. And then you see it there and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I think about myself. And I promise you, the more you do this, the more you train yourself, it's like you can't even think of yourself badly because you've trained yourself out of it. Because we also trained ourselves into thinking badly and thinking negative thoughts. Does this make sense? Okay, so read your personal power statement, half point. Listen to one of the guided meditation tracks. So, the guy that does your meditation tracks is actually one of my close friends, and he's amazing. People from all over the world have him do these types of meditation tracks, so he's like the best of the best. And when you sit down and you listen to these, and it's like a full cup of water, right? When you think about it, your mind, when it's filled with negative things, when it's filled with, negative self-talk, you can't put any positive into it. So we have to start getting the negative out and putting the positive in. We need to empty our glass a little bit so we can make room for positive. And so when you listen to these guided meditation tracks in the morning, listen to them in the car. Your kids listen to them with you. Like, it's so powerful to hear who you actually are because nobody walks around telling me all day, like, Kaelin, you're so amazing. You could do this, right? Like, no one did that for me. I had to tell myself because if you aren't going to tell you, no one is. No one is. And you can't sit around expecting it to come from your husband or your boyfriend or your friend or your mom. You can't expect it to come from other people. You can't wait around for that. You have to be the one doing it for you. So listening to your guided meditation track in the trainer, half point. So that makes up 1 point for state. Does that make sense?